Hello everyone, this video is powered by Adobe Express so that I can show you their new features, some of the stuff that I'm doing to best overall get really good thumbnails, graphics, etc. for YouTube. In case it's not clear this video is sponsored, there's an affiliate link to a 30-day free trial, but the amazing thing about Adobe Express, if you don't know, Adobe Express is 100% free to use. You can use it on a web browser or your mobile phone. It's free to download, I highly recommend it. All you need is an Adobe account, and then you can get started creating thumbnails. Another cool thing about Adobe Express is that you have a lot of options when it comes to tools. You have a lot of options when it comes to, if you want to explore it with AI, you can use a lot of features that I wish were around when I started YouTube. And before I was an Adobe Express partner, I actually was genuinely using Adobe Express because when you're on the go, sometimes you don't have a laptop or you don't have the whole suite of everything you have. So I usually have my phone. I loved how easy it was to use, and that's why. Good to see you, Doug. Happy Monday from down under. Sunday here in the States, but definitely good to see you. Yeah, we're going to be diving deep into Adobe Express today, everything it can do for YouTube. So just wanted to give some time to welcome folks, and yeah, happy live stream. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for joining. Now, one thing I will say when it comes to YouTube thumbnails are one of the most important pieces of metadata. It literally can be the difference between hundreds and thousands of views. It's the thing that people decide to click on to go into your video. Impressions is when YouTube is sending out your content based on your title, based on your description, based on your topic. But the thumbnail is when they see the video and decide to watch or not. So nailing this down and understanding how we can really dive deep here is crucial because a good thumbnail doesn't always necessarily mean the best design thumbnails. So that's something I wanted to quickly talk about as people are joining in. There are good for YouTube thumbnails and then well-designed thumbnails, and sometimes they're not exactly the same thing. I've seen thumbnails that are incredible pieces of art, but they're not good YouTube thumbnails. And I've seen thumbnails I would never recommend to be put in a museum, but they work. They generate that intrigue, they generate that curiosity, and they get people to click. So there's a difference between good looking and made for YouTube, especially when it comes to thumbnails. And I can't say enough how much that is undervalued. Alternative title for the stream, nail your thumbnail. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I could, play with, especially for, the replay. But for this one, I noticed for my audience, there was a huge amount of people looking for a YouTube thumbnail full course. So that's something that I really wanted to lean into. And also, I went that way with the thumbnail, which is something I also made in Adobe Express. And I think it's a great way to kind of get started as we look more at the Adobe Express of it all. Again, if you're just joining, the stream is sponsored by Adobe Express. We have an affiliate link to a free trial down below. Although Adobe Express is free to use, you don't have to install anything unless you want to use the mobile app, but it's just on your web browser. It's really easy to use, and I genuinely enjoy it. So with that, let's go ahead and start looking at this video's thumbnail and kind of talk about some of my thoughts behind it when it came to making this thumbnail. Now, we have alternate title for your stream, nail your thumbnails. I actually came up with this stream, thumbnail, title, everything was based on what my audience is searching for. I just made a video that's called Why You're Not Getting Views on YouTube and, how you can get views. And one of the things is like looking exactly how my audience was looking. I looked at the space and I wanted to offer a full course on YouTube thumbnails from top to bottom. I wanted to talk about some design ideas, talk about what we just talked about, the idea between a good for YouTube and a good looking thumbnail. Granted, I don't think that I'm putting this thumbnail in a museum, but the idea is that it's good for YouTube, right? It has thumbnails, it has full course, it has the YouTube logo, it has views up. I also noticed that when I was experimenting in A/B testing, which is something you can easily do on YouTube, which thankfully, YouTube's been, talking about it for years. We finally have it. It's one of those things where I will be A/B testing this thumbnail, and giving alternate versions. But this thumbnail, as you can see, designed in Adobe Express. So the general background is actually, if we look at this layer by layer, and if you're brand new and you've never seen a, Adobe Express, it can be a little overwhelming, but it's pretty simple as well. On the left is your stuff. So access to your files, your projects, your libraries, your brand. So I actually built out the Can Do creator community, which if you are unaware, we have a newsletter, we have a membership. This is all of our colors. I have this mug because, you know, I think it's very important to keep your branding on point. So we have the colors that I use for our brand as well as I use on YouTube all here. And you can save them in the brand area and actually apply your brand to this. So if I wanted to, I could change this up by applying brand. It's going to give me different options. If I wanted to have, you know, different ways I could use the colors, maybe this is one I like or want to experiment with. Obviously, I'll go back to what we have to start, but that just kind of goes to show how Adobe Express is using AI in this way to apply these color palettes to give you, you know, options, nuance. And I think that's one of those things that I could do that myself and sit here and design. But even then, that just saved me so much time because I set up my brand. I have my logos. I have different options. And you can really go deep. Logos, colors, down to the fonts you use. If you're ever wondering what we use, here you go. There's also templates, so you can save branded templates for reuse, assets, so if there's things you like. You can also just upload stuff, as you see here. I could upload by clicking the upload button. There's also thousands of templates. You can use these for different social media posts, things like that. But if you're using YouTube in the community tab, I can't stress enough, when it comes to the community tab, photo polls are so important and powerful in getting people to engage. I still recommend using normal polls, but there's something about an image that you have there that you can add and create in Adobe Express to just add to your channel. Adding images to your polls can really get even more engagement and get your community a little more interested. Again, when they're scrolling on YouTube, whether on their app, whether they're on the desktop, they just see images and it grabs attention, similar to thumbnails, right? And the fact that we can do this easily is always a plus and definitely something you should experiment with your audience. Again, every audience is different. And I like what Doug says here. What works versus what looks good. Again, I've been a big proponent of, I think that for me, I don't necessarily love my thumbnails, but what I want to happen is I want my audience to, when they see them, click. And I love that result. And trust me when I say, I've seen a lot of pushback. Well, I want to be artistic. I want to have my vision, my thumbnail to be very my style. And then I'll say, that's completely fine. You still can. You just can't get upset when you look at it and YouTube has sent it to millions of people and they're not clicking through. What you want and what an audience want isn't always the same thing. And that's a hard lesson. And it's something I still battle with. I want my own artistic thumbnails. I want it, but it's understanding that what's more important to me, that they click through and enjoy the video, or that the thumbnail looks great. Ideally, it's both, but it's hard to nail that because what you want and what an audience want may not always be the same thing. This is also very true. Thumbnails also depend on the kind of content you make. You wouldn't want to make a gaming style thumbnail for something like a study session video, right? Absolutely. It does depend on the content type, which is going to go into stuff we can get in today. When you are doing anything when it comes to thumbnails, and again, this is one of those things where you can do research. You absolutely should do some research. So let's say you want to take an idea into a new genre. YouTube has at the very top here, gaming. So this is what is on the homepage of gaming based on my interests, but it gives you an idea, right? So if I go news, you can see I'm watching a lot of Wicked. You can see all these things, video essays, right? Let's say I'm into video essays. These are some of the things that it's recommending on the homepage. Keep in mind, all these thumbnails are something I could study, but let's look at what we're noticing. Some of the things that I've noticed, right? This one is very powerful. 2 words, anti-AI, love AI. Can we talk about AI? It has good contrast. You can study different genres of thumbnails and learn what works best for you. Experimentation is key. The thing is, and this is what I think is so important, is that if you experiment and you love a thumbnail, it doesn't do well, and you just keep it, your audience in YouTube is showing you it's not working. You've got to be open to changing a thumbnail. And if this thumbnail I've made doesn't work, I'll change it because again, that end result is so important. And to be honest, it does help, but I love to design. I love to experiment, and I get it, demo technology. I definitely do. I'm not saying that you can't be creative. I'm just saying you have to be realistic to the results you're getting. Again, I've made thumbnails that I don't necessarily love, but they get clicks, they get the results I'm looking for, and I like them enough. Liking something enough is so important. So again, as we go through, you can add media, you can find stock imagery, you can actually, with plugins, add your own. So I have photos that I've added. They have a lot of featured free. Another thing is it'll tell you if it's paid with the little crown icon, as you can see here. So when it comes to all of these different things, right, it does give you a good idea of what's free. It even adds audio now. So if you're looking for sound effects, again, look for this little crown icon, but we're going to keep it simple to text. There's a lot of things here, elements, charts and grids. So if you're trying to maybe make a PowerPoint or you want to add a grid, like for me, there's some thumbnails where I've added a chart because again, I wanted to show analytics. And so let's look through some of the ones I've already made. I do make other assets in Adobe Express, so you will see some of the ones we've made. So the main thing you can see, especially like this thumbnail, hello, Chatty Cathy, good to see you. This thumbnail was based around make money faster, but this isn't actually the first thumbnail I made. And this goes into another feature of Adobe Express is that you can have multiple versions of thumbnails in one place. So if I click here under download and share, you can see that I've experimented with different text. I actually had a different version of this originally, but this version definitely was doing better than that other version. So I pivoted the text. I pivoted, some of what I worded. These are 3 I'm testing, and I like how easy it is to remake something. So let's say I like this thumbnail, right? I want to experiment though. Maybe I want a new text, but I don't want to lose everything. So there's a couple of ways I can do this. First, I can go back to this view by clicking view all pages in the top right hand corner. I can click these 3 dots right here, and I'm actually going to zoom in just a little more so you can see it a little clearer. So right here, 3 dots, click on it. I can duplicate this page. And now if I want, I can have OG make money now. So I know what these are. I can say, copy of make money now. And again, this makes A/B testing easy. I'm not having to redo this. I'm not having to make a new project file. I'm able to test. And maybe I don't, the main thing I was focused on in this video is how you can make money without AdSense, without, on YouTube. I could even say make money, maybe instead of now, I could try on YouTube, right? Keep it a little more focused to what my audience cares about. Explore a little bit. The main focus is making money, but also on YouTube, right? So maybe this would be a different angle or approach I can try with this. And the good thing is, as you'll see, because it's layer-based editing, if I want this behind me, I can do that. If I want to be on top of it, I can change the layers. I can really, go deeper here. And one thing to note is that if we go into this group, this image behind me, like a lot of times you can get really creative. This image doesn't actually exist. So if I hit none, that's just an image of me that I went in, customized the color, made it white and white so that it's an outline and I can change this. I can really have some fun with it. And now maybe I want to change this text, so I can click on the text. If there's something you don't want to change, like let's say I really like my placement here and I do, you can right click or you can tap and hold, and I can lock. Again, the whole point is that I can change what I want. Now, maybe it would make more sense to make this a red color. I could argue maybe green, but the background's green. I don't really think that works that well. But I want to grab attention, right? I could also, change this background color instead to have the fill color. Maybe it is black, and I change the background of this shape that I have here, which if I want to change the shape, I click down here, go to shape fill. I could maybe keep that same idea. And one thing I recommend to people is you should always check your thumbnails at a smaller view. Can I actually read what I have on a smaller view? Sometimes the answer is no. Like this, if I go to 25% or even 10, it's kind of hard to read money here. So that's something I would say you should absolutely check. Now, there are ways I could fix this. Maybe instead of this black outline, it's with a white outline. It doesn't necessarily always have to be, you can always look at different design options. Maybe it should be a thicker outline, right? Like my outline thickness might just not be enough. So now I have a thicker outline. and I could switch to maybe a blue color, something to kind of contrast. Another thing you should always try to do is add contrasting colors. Micah, I see that you said, hello, I reached 190 subscribers, and I also have 114 followers on Preaching the Gospel Facebook page. Can I use thumbnails or just use event? You can absolutely use a thumbnail. One of the good things with Adobe Express, especially, is like if Facebook thumbnails are slightly different, you can resize. So, and look, you don't have to use templates. Like, as I showed in your brand profile area, like, just because you can use Adobe's like Smart to give you font recommendations that are similar styles. Like, look at this. If I don't like this, I could say, let's say I want something a little more, personal feeling. I can switch. I can experiment with what works for me. And that's the good thing. I'm going to stick to the original because I do like how it looks, but you absolutely can experiment. Don't feel I'm frozen. I'm not frozen on my end. Gonna just check the YouTube stream. But, I'm going to say that, like, you don't have to use templates. Like, yes, there are templates in here, but you don't have to find yourself only using them. Again, the beauty of this is it's a creative suite. You can use Adobe Express to go deeper. Yeah, I'm not frozen on my end. Not sure what happened there. Six shop. So refresh. Can anyone else let me know? If you're watching the replay, I'll put you can always use timestamps to skip ahead. But as we're looking here, I think another important thing when it comes to looking at this, going back to what Micah said, if I, for example, want to make this for a Facebook post, right? You're not freezing at all for me. Thank you, Pearl. One of the things I like about this is I could change the size, and I could also, like, if it's a Facebook post, I can duplicate this and resize it. And what it's going to do is in a new window, it has, the appropriate Facebook page size. Now, it's not perfect all the time. Like some of this, like I have this border locked, so it locked it to what it is. But if I want to unlock this and make this more Facebook friendly, and if you even look, like I added in a thing here to make that green really pop. Like this is now, because, well, I got to unlock this. To unlock, same way you lock, hold. Now I can, in theory, and you can actually see this image has a lot more than what you would think, right? And maybe I want to be behind the money here. And now I have a Facebook post. And if I click to all pages again, we have the Facebook version. We have the copy of Make Money, and I'll call this, instead of Make Money Now, Make Money on YouTube, Facebook post version. And now from one thumbnail image, I have multiple images. I've resized it either as well. So now I can have it elsewhere. And I love that ability, right? So let's say I want to keep going somewhere else. Another thing you can do with AI is, if you want, is you can expand. But let's say I want to look at YouTube, right? There's lots of different ways. There's a YouTube banner, profile photo, display ad. Let's say I want to make this an ad. I don't, but it's something I could do. I can duplicate and resize. And now I have a display ad version. And with just a couple of tweaks, again, this would now act as a display ad in this scenario. I can make this just a little bit better for the YouTube ad thing. I would definitely, if I were taking this a lot more serious, I'd make these a lot bigger, maybe make them a little more centered. But again, you can see how just from that, and maybe I would actually, another thing I can do is I'd unlock myself, and I would, if you click more, again, explore, experiment. I can duplicate this group. Here I am again. If I can move myself. As you can see, sometimes it's hard to get everything working. Sorry if I'm also a little stuffed up. I'm a little sick. So hopefully, of course, as I'm doing this, if you ever need to close this, you can by hitting the X. And maybe I don't want this image of me. This gives me an opportunity where in the group here, what I could do is if I click in, well, first I got to bring out this. Oops, wrong one. So the layers menu is up here. Click on layers. You can always bring it back, hide it. I might want to replace this, so I'll ungroup this. But there's an image here where I can replace this image and I can do it from my libraries, right? Now, one of the things I have is a whole slew that I've saved in here of images with me without a background, right? So now all these images I had, I could easily bring them in. Maybe I want an image of me smiling, right? I've replaced it. I have it with my arms crossed. And now, instead of what I had before, and I want to bring back my layers here, I have another image of me on the other side, and it's just talking about, again, I wouldn't actually make this as a banner ad, but I wanted to show how quickly I'm able to do this, right? So if you wanted to do it another way, you can upload photos. I could go to my media and then go to photos. I could look this way. I could go to my brand where I have a bunch of other stuff. I have my own personal branding outside. In my stuff, you can see I have my stock templates, my libraries, my no background photos. I have some favorites. So these are some templates I've used. Shout out to Chris Doe. Someone asked me, for example, of his templates in Adobe Express. So here it is. So there's a lot you can do. There's some Lightroom photos. There's a lot. So overall, the main focus is just making this easier. And if you're just joining and you want to do this, let's go all the way from scratch. So this is what the Adobe Express homepage looks like. So you can start from your content, you can upload and edit. One cool thing, and I want to go full screen for this. If you've ever bought a creator's Photoshop packs to use for your own personal use, but you don't own Photoshop, you can open Photoshop files for free in Adobe Express. So if there's like a thumbnail design that you really like, or you've bought a pack, but you didn't have Photoshop, this is a free way that you can open it, use it, experiment with it, and understand how that creator creates too. You know, I saw earlier that Coastal Diva says that they're always changing their thoughts. There's no templates for me. Just because you're using a template doesn't mean you can't make those changes. Templates, if done well, are just a starting point for you to expand and grow upon. So looking here, under social media, there is a section for popular. So these are obviously some of the things people are using most. Instagram Square Post, TikTok, YouTube thumbnail, Instagram carousel, but there's also site-specific ones. If I can zoom in a little bit more. So we have Instagram here. We have Facebook, again, going back to the Facebook post, or if you want to make, you know, maybe there is a cover photo you like from a thumbnail, you could do that. But I'm going to click on YouTube, and you can actually make YouTube videos in Adobe Express. That's not the focus of this. You can make YouTube banners. So let's say you wanted a brand new banner. I actually made my current banner in Adobe Express. You can make YouTube profile photos, your new profile picture. I made this profile picture in Adobe Express, the one that you see here. And again, the whole point is that it has different things. And even if, let's say you want to do a 1920 by 1080 thumbnail, you don't want to do this, you can click custom size and you can enter in what you want to do, right? So if I want my thumbnail to be HD, 1920 by 1080, I just click create new file. And then this brings me in here. Here we are on our blank canvas, right? So I'm going to call this YouTube thumbnail, you know, example 2024, just so I have it when I'm looking back, I know what I saved, right? But I have complete freedom. From themes, I can click. So this is our current canvas. I have a lot I can do, but for now, like if I am enjoying this, maybe I want to find a background color. Maybe I'm doing a video. In fact, let's go full screen. Tell me a video that you're thinking about making. Let's do some research. Let's make a thumbnail from scratch together. And again, if you're enjoying this, let me know. I'm really having a lot of fun. I love talking about thumbnails, thumbnail design. I'm curious what you all are thinking. Currently, my question to everyone watching is, where are you making your thumbnails? I make them in Adobe Express, Photoshop, but I am curious, where do you make your YouTube thumbnails? Also good to see you flash in your pan. Happy to have you here. So as I'm waiting, one thing I wanted to show is kind of the beauty of just the simplicity. For me, if I look at the background colors, I can go to swatches. I like a lot of different colors. I like a lot of different things. I see from Chatty Cathy, 5 best burger joints in Toronto. I love this. I think this is simple. Let's go. So first, before I look up anything, I want to see what the landscape is on YouTube. 5 best burger spots in Toronto. And that's how I'd search it. Burger joints, however, you should always do research on anything you do to see what, people are saying. And looking here, what grabs my attention is I like seeing the burger up close and personal, right? I like the idea of getting a good image, maybe of the city, maybe of the burger up close. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, because we're doing, 5 best burger joints in Toronto, I've never done this, right? So let's go media, right? Let's go and look in the photos and type in Toronto or Toronto. I know there's a lot of people say different things. Maybe it's of the skyline. It's pretty iconic, right? Maybe that's something I want to use. So let's say I like an image of the skyline. Let's say I really like this. This could be a good background, especially if I want to give the Toronto vibes. One thing about a background and that I like about this is that you can stack. So we have that. Maybe the next thing I'm looking for is a burger, right? I want a good image of a burger, but I want it to look realistic. Some of these are a little bit too polished. I don't want just it on a white background. Now, one thing you might notice is a lot of these have the crown. You can filter. So one thing I would tell you is if you are not using a free trial or you are looking for free to use, just look for ones that don't have this crown. I really like the look of this. Now let's say I like this image, but it's, it has a background. It's kind of clashing. I could, in theory, remove the background, which it's just a click of the button, click remove background. It'll do its best. This maybe would work for me. It's a little bad in my opinion. It's not something I'd go. And it's not bad just because of it did what it was supposed to do. I don't think it fits. I could go in and, really fine tune this. I could restore parts of it by going into erase. You can see where it made its quick selection. Maybe I want the board back, so I could quickly add the board back in. And now, if I hit done, I have a little bit more of what we had before. But maybe I don't really like this image now that I've played with it. Maybe I want a different burger. And again, I'm also looking at a lot of burgers. Also, one thing about joint and burger joint is that YouTube looks at contextualization. And what I mean by that is that what I think of as a burger joint can mean other things. And they're not always safe for work. So I say spot, place, things like that. So it could even be that maybe the city skyline is distracting. Sometimes that can happen. So maybe I do actually like this image. Maybe it should just be of the burgers, right? And maybe it's as simple as adding, a little bit of an overlay. And again, there's things I can do, right? I could add in a Canadian flag, right? That's something that's pretty simple. I could add in. Here's a quick little image of the Canadian flag. I could add that in to add in, I'm in Toronto. Another thing to keep in mind is that as I have just this image, and you don't have to love my thumbnail designs, right? I am not at all saying that this is the gospel, that I make the best thumbnails. I try to make, and I'll go, again, I love going full screen. Try to make the best thumbnails that you're okay with the design and match the need of the audience. A great way to do that is study what's already out there when it comes to a YouTube search term. Look at what other designs are. Find ways that you can stand out. You don't always have to love every thumbnail, but what you're trying to do is entice people to click. You're trying to get people to click through. So you need to make sure that you would click on your thumbnail before you even put it out there. So this one, very simple. Now, one thing I can do, if I go in the elements, I could try a background. I could try one of these established backgrounds. Maybe it's something like this. This is going to act as a background image. If I don't want that, I can click sometimes on it. This one is not a great example of it. There are some that are designed to be backgrounds. What I like to do is I go to shapes, and then I'll usually pick a square or something, a rectangle, usually a solid one like this. Because if you click on it again, you can change the color. So when I think of burgers, right, I think of reds, I think of yellows. Maybe I'm just biased to get towards McDonald's. But again, think about this. I have the Canadian flag. Maybe the red isn't the best fit. But if I'm going for that skyline feel, We're going to put this here. And again, what we're experimenting with is changing things up. Now, in this area, when I click on it, it's going to bring up the rectangle. I'm actually going to change the opacity. So you can still see the burger. You see it really well, but there's a little bit of a tint. This gives me some places to go and creatively, right? You can see if I move it, we get full color. Maybe it makes sense to make full color. Again, we're experimenting. I want to lock this layer so that I don't accidentally move it like I was. Red, ketchup, tomatoes, mustard, but also because it's the same color as the Canadian flag, it might clash, right? Let's go back to this layer, right? Let's unlock, which you can, I think, no, you got to do it here. If I go to a red, it matches this. If I go to a darker red, kind of still works. I could, of course, add a drop shadow to help this stand out. There's stuff I could do, but I also can edit the original image. Maybe I want to make it a little bit larger. I really want to focus in on these burgers, right? So one thing I could maybe play around with is like, this could look like a little flag. I know in some countries they'll put like little flags in the burger. I could cover this and make it look like it's a Canadian burger. Make it look like that was the intent. Again, just having some fun with the design. Am I in love with it? No, but I'm having fun with it. And again, you can experiment, play with it. So now we have that. We can go to text. So if you are not sure your text, one of the things I would say is best burger. That's a pretty simple one. We could do it in a couple of different ways. There's text layouts. First, let's make this more readable. Good to see you, James Hicks. I learned how to make church YouTube thumbnails. I go live every thumbnail. I'm still learning to use Canva on Facebook, and YouTube live streaming ends the live broadcast. Micah, YouTube thumbnails. I learned how to make church YouTube thumbnails. I go live every Sunday. I'm still learning how to use. I mean, I don't use Canva. I'm using Adobe Express. I mean, I did use Canva, but I'm not using Canva actively anymore. I used it from around 2020 to about 2022. So I would say a lot of what I'm talking about are basics and go into those same things. Again, I recommend Adobe Express. I was recommending them before. But a lot of what I'm doing here, I'm assuming is similar there. And a lot of these best practices work there. So one thing I could do is if I really kind of want, we're focusing on the best burger places, right? So this right now is a little much, but let's keep exploring. I do like the recommended fonts. Recommended fonts are definitely one of those things that help a lot when it comes to different kind of styles. So when it comes to the recommended fonts, one thing I like is that you can easily, have different styles without having to go too deep, right? And the good thing is because you're using Adobe fonts, a lot of these play in there. I actually think, let's go into this layout so you can see a little bit more. You can see I can view all these different recommendations. So instead of me sitting there and trying, I get a little preview image. I have my original. I like this recommendation, but maybe I want to find a different style. I can click more like this. And I have the original up here. So maybe if I wanted to go for a more free supporting one, maybe this one. And again, we're not done. We could do a little more here. So one thing I could do is there's different text layouts. Maybe I want it dynamic. Maybe I want the best to be really loud. I could change that. Maybe I want it in an arch. Again, you'll play around with what works for you. I do kind of like this best burger, but I wonder how good it'll look in a smaller screen, right? Like that's something I also need to consider because you don't really know until you blow it up more. So now if I move that, I'm going to have to adjust this, make sure my Canadian flags are where they need to be. This one, and I can make a little bit better. I also need to modify the image a little more. There we go. Oop. Click the layers, click the layer. And again, this is very simple. I wouldn't say it is right now better, but just from a simple design, I can add like a drop shadow. I usually recommend a better color. Maybe I want something smooth. I want something strong. I really want this to stand out, right? So now we've gone from this. Another thing I could do is you can duplicate this layer. We're going to duplicate it. We're going to have the same image exactly where we have it. Now maybe I remove the object, right? Why am I doing that? Maybe I want the best burger, to fall between a little bit behind. Maybe I don't want the fries. So what I can do is we can erase objects as we showed before. I'll erase. Let's see. I think I might be on the wrong layer. No, there we are. I was on the right layer. So now I can erase this, right? And we can edit it. We can restore, we can erase. So I can bring this back. Kind of the same idea. We have the burger there. Hit done. Because ideally, I just want the burger here. And now, we have best burger. We went from that idea that was pitched in the audience. If I scroll down, I can still see best burger. I can see the Canadian flag. I can still edit this if I want. But the idea was best burger places. This is a thumbnail that I would say for a quickly designed thumbnail gets the point across. And there's some more things you can do with Adobe Express. So we showed this. Adobe has what's called add-ons. So here you'll see I have my own add-ons. One of my favorites is something called Intention Insight. It's going to use AI that it's trained on different things. This is a third-party company, but it uses it on banners, posts, thumbnails, ads. What are you testing? It'll give you an idea. So test design. And now it's going to take a little bit of time, but I can see based on this AI's data set, train set of watching where people tend to look. Again, I'm going for the best burgers in Toronto. Based on my title, this should also help. Where are people looking? Based on this, I can add this as a layer, which is another cool thing you can do. So they're looking at the flag. They're going to look at the burger, and then they're looking at the text. People, at least in the US and in more traditional countries that have this, not to say traditional in a bad way, it's just, in the more, I guess, Western side, we read left to right. There's something read right to left, right? So it's focusing on all the places I want it. I've had some where the AI is like, it's not looking where I want it to, and I have to redesign. But if I don't want to have this layer, I can just delete it. And there we are, our best burger YouTube thumbnail example 1. Let's go for more YouTube thumbnail examples. And here's the cool thing. I'm going to make it in a brand new canvas because we're designing these together. I'm actually pretty proud of this one, especially the burger cutout. There's some depth to it. There's a little bit of layering. We replace the fries. One thing I could do is if I wanted to keep that Toronto feel, we go back to the images. I could maybe it's like bang for the buck or something like that. I want to focus on the value in that way. Or I want to have, Toronto again. If I can spell, you'd think it'd be here. But these are all things that you could try just in yourself, right? So if I type in Toronto, it's going to give me some images. Maybe it's some signage. I could maybe have some images that if I wanted to use, I could. Maybe it's an image like this, but again, I don't want to overcomplicate it. I want to find that balance. Maybe for elements, maybe I want some stickers. You can draw some shapes. I could do like a dollar sign, maybe that's, although I guess for Canada, I don't think you use the R dollar, so maybe that wouldn't be the best. Because you're going to know too. There's some frames you could do. So let's say you wanted to add some extra images. You wanted to have a little bit more fun. You could add arrows. Arrows are a very common YouTube thing. So there's lines and arrows. Let's say I wanted to, I'll just use this one, really draw more attention to it. We can go and make this a giant, again, tends to be red arrows are what YouTube loves. So let's say I wanted to make this really big. I want to draw attention to it, something I could easily do. So yeah, you could change the angle. So now we're focused on the best burger. Again, if I were to do this, maybe I don't use this red outline. Maybe we go to a yellow one, right? Because we talked about burgers having that yellow look. Looks maybe a little better. I could also experiment with the opacity. And because now we have, should probably lock this layer again, huh? But because now we have that level of opacity, there's still stuff we can do. I can make the border thicker if I really want this arrow. Let's say I want a thick arrow. That's something I could easily do. Helps make it stand out a little bit better. I'd probably want this behind the burger, or like the word burger, not the actual burger. That's a lot of burger talk. But yeah, that's how quickly and easy we were able to make a thumbnail together. And again, we talked about a lot of design. We looked at, this one also stands out, right? Like 6 in the 6, burger in Toronto, best burger. I do like this idea and this kind of collage of it all. Obviously 4 months ago, 17,000 views. That one's doing pretty well too. I like just this simple one, reviewing Toronto's best burgers, what to eat. Again, maybe instead of best burger, it's what to eat. But again, you're going to experiment. You're going to figure it out what you like. And you can bring images you've taken yourself. The next one I wanted to talk about is, like, let's say that I want, I've asked for some thumbnail ideas that you guys have, but let's go over some of the ones I've designed again as well. Talk about where I've made changes. So I'm A/B testing always. So the original thumbnail layout was this. I quit YouTube. I made this video a while back talking about quitting my gaming channel. It was simple. It's not doing awfully, but I wanted to try improving it, try different versions of it. So I made this version. I quit YouTube. It's a little more dynamic. It's got me looking at the camera. It's got a little more drama. Here's why. And you can see there are some differences. This one, I'm just looking directly at camera. I'm looking here, but I've added a little bit more dynamics to it. We've kept that YouTube red. I actually call this V3 because V1 was pretty much this, but I added a drop shadow. That's about the difference between the two. Also made it a little bigger. So yeah, I'm always experimenting, always trying new things. And that's what I recommend if you're watching live or in the replay. You can't undervalue experimentation. Another add-on you can do is, as we're looking here, is I like, if someone in your audience has low vision, it has a low vision checker, and it gives you an idea of how readable they are and different standard, like different kind of, vision loss that people commonly have. And I think for accessibility, someone in my comments actually let me know that some of my thumbnails they couldn't read. And when I saw this in Adobe Express, I thought this was incredible. They said they had, it was something diabetic related, but let's use this for the example. If we look here, some of my thumbnails may not be the most inclusive to people that have those issues, right? Visual acuity, normal, mild, medium, severe. If they have mild visual acuity and this kind of field of vision, low vision, it can definitely be difficult. Like standard, if they have mild, medium, severe, like it is important to be inclusive. And it's one of those things that I really like this add-on. It's helped me think of that. And sometimes if you think about it, some of your designs, if you know people with these things, it may not be the most inclusive. So it is always important to kind of take a look at different ways that you can think about people who may have some visual issues and may have some ways that you can help. And like, that's one of the cool things that add-ons can do. Another thing you can do is, like, if you want to look at, some gradients, let's say you wanted to social preview it. There is a social previewer. There's the YouTube previewer, which gives you an idea of how it would look on the homepage of YouTube. So yeah, it also gives you, we talked a lot about, someone in here was like, what about Facebook? It does have some more options. So again, you want to make sure that your thumbnails are as inclusive as possible and that you're doing the most. And I love that Adobe Express has those add-ons in here to help us do that. So as we are continuing to talk about thumbnails, one thing I think is super important when it comes about any YouTube thumbnail is that YouTube thumbnails, especially when it comes to new people seeing your channel for the first time, We talked about how there are different kind of content for different people, right? If someone is brand new to your channel, having you in your image may or may not be a plus or minus. My channel is so established that my audience tends to see me, they click on it, so having my face in the thumbnail is helpful. But if you're a brand new channel or you're a faceless YouTube channel, like going back to that burger design we did, having the burgers up front and center with nods to the city you're in is huge. If you're a travel channel, having huge, clear images of where you're going in that location is so important. Like if I'm talking about London during Christmas time and then my image has no indication about London at Christmas, it's a mismatch from audience expectations and what I've said the video is about. So make sure you're owning that with your thumbnail. And I see Coastal Diva says, nice idea with the flag. Thank you. Again, it's just another way that we could have showed that we are, talking about the best burgers in a location. But the thing about that flag is it is still pretty noticeable, but it may not have been. So it's important that we, look at that and we keep designing, we keep figuring it out. Ooh, too much. I could have just zoomed to fit the page. Now, I do like this arrow, but what I want to do is I want to duplicate it, kind of doing what I talked about earlier. I want to give it a drop shadow almost. I think this kind of matching what we have there. Put it behind here. We can make it a little bit larger. Yes, that works for it goes back to how to make a drop shadow in Adobe Express. Now, one thing you could do is, I think that's a little bit better. I think that might be where I'm okay leaving it. You can over-design a thumbnail, and sometimes I have been guilty of, like, when I make a thumbnail and I'm making it quick and I'm like, why didn't I just do this? And I think that's so normal in this process. Look, I have taken a lot of time to learn thumbnails and what works for my audience. And again, if what I'm telling you and you're watching this and you're like, this thumbnail device would never work for my audience, you're going to know your audience better than I will. Use your analytics. I cannot tell you how many times I tell people, this is just general advice. However, if what works for your audience that you can see in your analytics, you're gaining impressions, people are clicking through to watch, please follow that. It is so important that we are doing content that works for your unique audience. If a thumbnail isn't working, but you love the design, it might make sense to change it. An average thumbnail click-through rate is anywhere between 2 to 10%. If your thumbnail has lots of impressions, but has a 0.2% click-through rate, change the thumbnail. Because YouTube is putting it out. People just aren't responding. Now, again, we talked about, you can also make thumbnail banners. If I search, we should be able actually to scroll back to see my current thumbnail banner if we keep going down here. As you'll see, I do use this a lot. And I use it all the time. So one thing I do like about it is I do use the tools I recommend, like you'll see. Here's my current thumbnail banner. Now, a fun shout out, actually, is friend of the channel, Chantel Hills, actually has a really good image we're going to use. And I'll make sure to put it in chat. But when it comes to thumbnail banners, I actually still like mine. I've gotten some people say, I don't like your thumbnail banner. I do, and it does what I'm trying to do. Although all the people who told me they didn't like it were also trying to sell me their service to do it for me. So also look at what the intent is behind someone reaching out. Like, I've had people who are like, oh, I hate this, I can make something better. It's like, all right, well, I think if you're just trying to sell me your product, of course you're gonna like what you made better. So always try to see what angle is the approach someone is telling you from. I got feedback on my current banner. It's not well optimized for TVs. That's good feedback and why I'm going to remake my banner, right? So it's important that when you are, doing anything when it comes to thumbnails or graphics or banners, where is that coming from? So Chantel says, I wish Adobe Express would just let me use some of the features like drop shadow on shapes, images rather than need. That is feedback I have given. I know that it on some images. So if we go here, for example, if we go to a photo, maybe I'll use this amazing cat. Like sometimes some photos and images have it, sometimes they do not. That is something that they are working on and are aware of. So I'll use a Christmas tree here. Some of them do have it. It's just kind of hit or miss what does and doesn't. But that's feedback I will give them. It's something I've noticed as well. The cat, yeah, the cat was pretty fun. Look, that's a great photo of a cat. Let's be really real. But I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna actually rename this because it's not the best. AK YouTube video. AK YouTube channel banner. Now, you'll actually see I have already made the new design. And because of Chantel's amazing asset, and I'm going to make sure I put this in the chat. I'm watching on TV right now. Oops. But I put it in the chat. This comes from Chantel Hills, where it is this image we are going to use for what you're going to see. Now, one thing I will say is I'm going to make sure to put this as my background layer. If you want to set anything as a background layer, under where the image is, set as background layer. This is going to be my background when I'm designing this YouTube channel banner. Now, if you want to do this from scratch, we're going to do it together. To make a YouTube channel banner in Adobe Express, all you've got to do is on the home page. Oh, that's not your one. Make sure to put it in the... I thought it was. I could have sworn I was using yours. Chantel, can you link yours? And I want to make sure I update it to that. But this is one of the ones I've used. I'm sorry, Chantel. That's my bad. But if you want to use Adobe Express to make your YouTube channel banner, or if you want to make a YouTube channel banner, I'll make sure to include Chantel's actual linked one in the description. And here's how you do it in Adobe Express. From the home page, click on social media, or you could click on custom size. Make your way to YouTube right here. Then you're going to go ahead and click on YouTube banner. It's going to have the right size. I'm going to click on where I have my banner already. I'll make sure to get Chantel's new one. I think it's just on your website, actually. Chantel's website's actually really good. Let me make sure where it is. Tools and resources. Should be simple, you'd think. This is more me than Chantel. I believe it's in her digital assets, actually. Yes, it is. There we go. So we're going to get this one out of here. We're going to get Chantel's. You can see it with chantelhills.com. I'll put this in the description. Chantel, you got to keep this up to date. I'm replacing it on my other video as well. Putting it in this video description right now. All right. If you update, you should now see it in the descriptions. But similar to what we did before, set as background. And now I know where the TV About section is, where the desktop section is. It's hard because YouTube keeps changing this. I hope this is the final iteration of it. But so much of the About, one of the main problems with how YouTube updates is this, right? So one of the things that I would say, as I have this as my background, what I tend to do is I'll get an element like this. We go back to those shapes. I use it as a cross-reference because I don't necessarily want to see this the whole time I'm designing. Click on that. Opacity. I'll keep it like here so I can see the areas, but I can still design without worrying about kind of going in and out here. Now, this is the new updated one thanks to Chantel Hills. So one of the things I would do, if I look at this version of it, you'll see I actually should just be able to copy it over and take a look at where, how it compares. So in my current design, oop, that's my bad. Hold on. I don't want to replace the background, so I will just fit this to the size. And then I will have it, if we keep going down, have it like, actually I'll have it above, on top of everything. And then I will change the opacity. You can kind of see where the image, where like some of the stuff starts to happen, right? Like the TV About section covers where I want my text to be. You can see that there's a lot of empty space. Like right here, I should probably, if I were to keep this banner, move the can do creator call out. I would probably make more sense to have it above, right? Because it's being cut off, which is not what I want. So now maybe I put it here, keep it in this design acuity space, but it's not overlapping. It's not getting delayed. Like this text shows on mobile, but the content creation made easy is actually kind of cut off. So even by some of these subtle changes I'm able to make, I can see that, I have my community shout out here. And if I want, I can align it, right? I can align it to the center. So now if someone watches on TV, I'm pretty sure Chantel and Doug, who have both been very kind and have told me it's not the best optimized, they're like, hey, fix this. It's a little better now. But, I should probably also get rid of the old school subscribe call out, right? Like, YouTube's kind of gotten rid of it. It's not that anymore. So now we have a little bit better of an image, a little bit more optimized. There's some stuff over here. But I could even include, if I go back to my brands, like let's have some fun. I could maybe have the KD logo, but in color. I could do a lot of different things here. If we go to logo, maybe I include this as a little Easter egg in this corner for those who know. Again, because this is what it'll be like on TV viewing. I could now get rid of this. And if I want to bring it back, I can just go 100%, have a little bit of an overlay. But now, it's a little bit better optimized for what I'm trying to do. Now, I noticed I did make a mistake. And I'm going to duplicate this image. I'm going to add it back. Then, we're going to go back to the opacity. And we go from there. So, as we design from scratch, one thing I want to keep in mind is there is so much space on TV, and a lot of people are watching on TV. 1 billion is a huge number, and YouTube has said that that's about how many people are watching on TV. It is growing and growing, and that's, I believe, over a 30-day. I'll make sure to have that sourced in the description. A lot of people are watching on TV. So your YouTube channel banner should be not only for what we always said, mobile, desktop, think TV too, because it does matter. And they have different sections now. If we go to what this is and we bring this to 0%, that TV About section, super important. So if we wanted to say have images of yourself, you could upload it here. If I wanted to find images here, I could maybe have my set. Maybe that's something I'd want to do. Or I could look up what I kind of try to do, which is camera gear. I like camera gear. It's something I try to keep, as something that's there. I like wood tones. I like different overshots. So this is something I could definitely do. If I wanted to keep maybe a blue theme, I could use maybe this image. Like this is pretty decently optimized for this banner. I could just, keep making it bigger. Now we have this image, but maybe it would make more sense, and I can do this here, to put it over on this side, because if we remember, going back to what we saw here, this image is not, being overlaid with what YouTube would be affecting it with. So now we have a little more area to design, but I should also probably, because it's not exactly has the camera in full, I might want to try to adjust or find another image that captures that camera on the desktop and mobile version, right? So that's something to keep in mind as well as you're looking through, as you're designing. Again, we change the opacity so we can see what's there. If I don't want to do that, if I want to detach this from the background and then, I could just fit to the screen, that's something I could do as well. So let's go ahead and make it fit. One thing you can do is lock but allow image replace. This is something that they took from the community. I would like lock but still allow image edits in terms of like opacity and stuff. So I'll keep it like this. And now we have that image. I'm not in love with it, so we'll probably go from photos here. Camera gear again. There's something like this, which I kind of like. It's like, a camera bag being open. Maybe I type in, I can keep looking at that. I like the warmth of this. But again, I want area for space. I want area so that I could add my stuff in it. Like this one isn't bad, but it's hard to put some text overlay. So really it's finding what you like and designing around that. For me, like I said, I like that warmth. I like an open camera. I like the gear. I want to give the, and again, this is just ideation, right? We're talking about this out loud, right? So this, if I'm a more camping focused channel, like maybe this makes more sense. If I'm a travel focused channel, if I'm like thinking of going back to the Toronto example, maybe I would put, Canada, and I have that. It's finding what you like and designing with that in mind. And again, I'm seeing some things here that definitely speak to me, give me ideas. I like, and you'll learn what you do and don't like, and I could even take my own image here. This one is very much like the one I have now. If I wanted to keep that yellow look, I could definitely do that here. Something I could do as well with this image is maybe I want the camera gear to be on top. Now, I've got that camera gear on top. I can go back to this image and we can go ahead and make it a bit bigger. But one thing to keep in mind is when you're using images like this, you can see sometimes you don't have a lot of room to edit because it's baked in. That's the beauty of taking your own images. We're just using stock photos for now, but don't ever think you can't use your own imagery. And that's what I love about thumbnail designing. It's just a different skill set. Thumbnails, banners, etc. All of it is just a different mindset that you can have. Maybe I could do like creator, right? I could focus on creator, and that's correct. I could remove the background and have a different color. Maybe I do creators, right? Let's see what it thinks when it thinks of creators. So we have this image here. I would probably go back and fix. I think I might still have it. No, I think that might be right. No, I think it is upside down. No, that's the wrong one. Yeah, it was upside down. But it has some images that definitely give me creator feeling. But one thing I need to keep in mind is this image looks really good in the full version, but it's not looking so good in just normal, right? So like in normal view, like in full image, it looks great, but in what mobile sees, it's not a lot that's being captured. I could, again, edit this, make it to where this is a little more clearly a camera or computer. I did not flip the template. I did a little bit and I flipped it back. I could flip it, but I won't. So let's go. I do like that though. And again, if I want to replace, I can just replace with an upload to put my own image. I like stockholder footage and images just to help. I could just maybe have myself in my set. That could be something, if that's something that is going to be a commonplace. You could also just keep it very, very simple. You could just have like wood grain and text. It could just be a texture. Again, the idea though is finding things that you like that work. One thing to note as well is it does tell you if something is generated with AI or if it's paid. You can see with this image. Very helpful. I tend not to try to use AI imagery here. I do use AI. I don't usually use it in this way. It just really depends. But I have creators. Maybe it's creator gear. Maybe it'll give me different results. And then this is AI generated. A lot of this is AI. I believe you can filter this out if you just want certain things. You can, of course, look at what is there. This one is a similar ideal. But I kind of like this one a little more because on mobile or even on desktop, we still see the camera, we still see what's there, we could see a bit of the computer. And again, it's not easy to find an image that fits everything you're looking for, right? But it's about, diving deep, figuring out what you like, what you don't. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not really a fan of the AI imagery here, but this is something I could definitely take inspiration from and film myself. Like, let's say I like this one, which I kind of do. It's got a camera. I could definitely stretch to make it a little longer. Can really edit this image to make it fit what I'm looking for. Because again, I like the idea of the camera. I know that some people use their phones, but if I was a mobile first, channel, maybe I'm looking for that over what I have here. And again, we're going pretty quick through just to kind of give an idea what you're looking for, but camera now is there. I could say that you see a majority of the camera. I could zoom it up a bit. Again, keep the most of the idea of the camera. There's still stuff for if they're watching on other devices. I like it because it's not necessarily clashing. And as I design with our new, overlay, maybe I want the blue. Maybe I even want the red, the KDCC red. Kind of liking the red a little bit better. I don't recommend flipping. Well, if the template owner tells you not to flip it, don't flip the template. But again, I can explore. I can play with this. I think I could also do screen. Yeah, I could do screen mode, which is a blend mode. You can multiply. So screen mode, what it'll do is if I lock this, now, whenever I'm designing, which if I want to, I can, I still have it there. It's there, but it's not super bad, and I can still add to this. So if we go back here, right, what do I like of this image? Well, one of my things I really do like is my name and the text, keeping it very simple, content creation made easy. I could, copy. But maybe for this one, instead of having the colors, I think it might make more sense to just have a simple black and white. Have it be here like this. You can add a shadow like we were talking about. So maybe the color shadow is in blue to help it stand out. Maybe that keeps that same ideal. Again, I'm trying to get that mobile optimization without being too big. I actually think I'll keep this the kind of color I use instead. That way we have that same idea. And again, it's now it's still in mobile and desktop, but it's not hitting this TV about section. Again, when you're designing, especially when this is when you use a template. This template, graciously from Chantel Hills, thank you, is one of those instances where you design with it so you can make something better from scratch. Now, again, this background image, I might replace it. That's the beauty of this. I think that's probably what I'll do. But I now need to keep in mind all these different areas, like the fact that the about section is going to cover this. So it makes it definitely hard because how this banner looks on a desktop is going to be different than TV. It's going to be different than these other things. Now, I do like the content creation made easier or made easy, but maybe it's something like helping creators like you, something a little different. Content creation made easy, helping creators, if I can spell, creators like you. Now, again, it's hard with this because in an ideal world, I would have it here, center design, but I have to remember the about section is now going to interfere there. So it does become a little more challenging. I also want to keep it slightly smaller, but still readable. Helping creators like you. I don't know if I want like you on a second line, only because let's try it. I tend not to do that design, but it might work here considering there's constraints. So center. Oh, you know what? It's not bad. I stand corrected, Chantel. That's not a bad idea. Not sure if I like you, and again, like this dynamic, it's going to try to fill the space. We can go back to default. Gives us ideas. And maybe it's helping creators like, and then helping creators can be one line and like you can be its own. So now we can duplicate this. And even like you. And then we can, add italicize on the U. And notice how it only does that one line. I can keep this in my actual font I tend to use, which is I like Railway. I think it's a really clean font family. It grabs impact. So I could do like you. And then I could do Railway here instead of like that very bold font. Font is definitely something you'll experiment with and figure out what you like. I think I'll just put that as bold. Helping creators like you. And again, still working on ideas. Not necessarily married to it. We'll figure it out as we go along. So now, center design, still a little, keep that, like you. Helping creators like you still hits that. Andrew can, helping creators like you. Outline is a little different, so let's go to the same matching color so that we can keep that consistency. And the shadow, if we go custom, we can really kind of match the other ones here. There we go. So yeah, shadow is on the text. Second line, helping creator. Oop, if I don't do that. The reason it did that is I'm zoomed in and it like adjusted and I was still holding it. So that's more me. Now, the only thing with helping creators like you is compared to content creation made easy is that it does, like, if someone's not sure they're a creator yet, that could be alienating, right? So that's something, maybe it's helping you understand YouTube, right? That could be something I try. Don't hate it. Center. Go back to that double line idea. Then we could also align more objects. I also think I could do it here. We can do the justify one. Align center. Helping you understand YouTube. And again, it's all about experimenting, right? I may like this now, but then as I look on it, it doesn't work. Let's go back to fixing the shape. And again, what does your banner design philosophy have? How are you considering doing all of what you're doing? we're kind of talking about mine, but would love to, consider it. And I look at a lot of banners. A lot of what I'm telling you is stuff I recommend and try to do on my own content. Now, one thing I would say is I originally had videos and streams trying to be specific on what I had. And I do like that idea, but I do more than videos and streams, right? And this also makes it a little difficult if, like, I do more content. I've kind of limited myself. I could just say, instead of videos and streams weekly, I could say content weekly. Now it feels a little more, generic, but it's also gives me opportunity to offer different than what I had here. Welcome, Small Sky. Better late than never, and there's always the replay. Happy to have you with us. We are designing YouTube thumbnail banners now. We are using this amazing free image that we got from Chantel Hills. Thank you, Chantel. I'll make sure to have this in the description. Have it on screen too. Something I could do if I'm like Chantel, and there's actually a really good opportunity to talk about this. Let's say I wanted to offer a QR code because, some people might look on the screen here. Adobe Express is a free QR code generator. So I could choose the link. So now this is Chantel's. I could choose the style. So if there's a specific, like I want a marker border, I like certain styles of these better. I tend to like this one. If I want a different color, I can choose different other colors. These are the ones they recommend. But let's say I wanted a QR code. Like this, in theory, should now bring us, and I'll scan it live. You should try scanning it live too, actually. Did it work? That's the question. It did. Brought me to chantelhills.com. But now I have a QR code. And if I download it, I can go there. I can open it in the editor as well if I want to just have it. So now I have this asset. I'm going to copy, go back. Because for Chantel, especially on the TV side, this is a huge opportunity for most people to just use that space, right? Instead of maybe the KD like I have here, maybe I replace it with this. So now I will paste it in. Oh, I'm on a locked image. Paste it in, have it in this little corner. So if someone's watching on my TV and there's something I want to bring them to, now there's a QR code there. And I can still edit it. I can still play with it. I can still have it, But I now have a QR code. It's something that only they'd see on the TV. Thanks for watching from the TV. You can actually add tracking codes. There's so much you could do. Chantel's reading my mind. I'm thinking about adding it to the KDCC. But again, a free QR code generator. I know some people pay for them. For me, I think it's a really good example of a way that I could easily, put it to the Discord server. Style. I like it. File format. You can choose different ones. I want to download this. I now have my QR code. So there we go. It's just a different way you could do this. And again, one of the things I found a QR generator that used my logo for the center, and it was direct link to my site rather than like a tiny URL. Feels more legit that way, so there's no question. Oh, very fair. The gears in my mind are rotating, and that's what we're trying to do, right? So if I wanted to replace this, I could upload from my device, click on my Adobe Express QR code, and now I've replaced the image. I've uploaded my own. I'm actually scanning to make sure it works. I clicked on it, and it brought me to Discord. Look at that. Love to see it. And that's something I definitely think I'm going to incorporate in my own. And Chatty Cathy, Chantel, thank you. Chantel, thank you for this amazing graphic. It just helps, especially when it comes to this. Now, one thing I will also say is it's hard to design, I feel, these days on desktop because that YouTube has made some of these changes. Like, it's definitely one of those situations where I do like what they've been doing on TV, but it's challenging to be a designer for all these different spaces. And I want to just acknowledge that if you're like, this is a lot, it is. You are completely justified in feeling like this is a lot to maintain and do. But, right, as I look here, we've been designing for an hour. We've been using Adobe Express, and thank you all so much from the Adobe team for sponsoring. It is a really useful tool. I use it all the time. But it's not too challenging. Once you get in there and you start playing with it, you start getting feedback. Happy to see you, Foxtail. You know, speaking of feedback, I do want to shout out our Discord server. We have the thumbnail section where you can do thumbnail feedback if you go thumbnail review. We also do banner reviews. So a lot of times people don't know this, but if you have a thumbnail banner, we have a section here for banners only. So if you click on thumbnail, new post, click banner. Say, hey, does my thumbnail banner look good? We can help. You can see there's a lot of people I've even asked in there. There's a lot of people who are looking for that feedback. We have a place for you. Don't worry. I guess technically you could scan the QR code on screen. But I think what I'm going to do instead is put if you're curious about our Discord, there you go. And I see we have some channel members. I see Six Shop. I see, Chantel. We had Susan earlier. We go over these kind of things in our membership calls. They are all that important. And so now that I'm looking here, I'm liking where we're coming from. We have a lot. We have some of the stuff that is, what we had before, but it feels new. I get rid of this completely. We look here. This is what it looks like on certain devices. One thing I would say that I like from here is I like the line imagery. So I want to go ahead and kind of keep these lines. So I want to go ahead and copy, bring them over to the new banner. Notice how it keeps it also pretty much in the same place. I do like that too. I don't know actually if I like this image I picked of myself. I might pick a better image, or better for what I think would be a better image. So we are going to copy this as well. So I do recommend, if you are on camera, having yourself in the banner, just because it gives your audience something, some expectation of you. I think that can also be, if they're watching on desktop, a little bit more. So right now, this helping you understand YouTube, it looks pretty decent. We have this. And again, it's you lead your audience some room for some happy surprises. I do also want to say, because I know I've been asked this too, you can just drag and drop the files. There's different ways you can do it. I just like, when it comes to doing something, I like using the upload. But if there's an image, let's say there's this I just dragged it, or dropped it. So let's say there's one of these many images of me without a background that I have. I can just drag and drop it. So let's say I want to use this one. It'll copy. Oop, not trying to replace. Hopefully it doesn't do that. Oops, that might be my bad. Okay. I like how I'm like, hey, I can drag and drop. And then I proceed to do what I didn't want to happen. Also, yes, Foxtail, we are using Adobe Express. If you would like to try a 30-day free trial, Adobe Express is completely free to use. It is one of my favorite tools to use. I've used it for my current channel banner. I use it actually quite a lot. And I've made my recent thumbnails with it. I've had really good success. I use it pretty much every day. And I was using it before I was a partner with them. I just believed in it then, and I'm happy to be using it now. And yes, this is something they sent me as well, in full disclosure. But I need water. Now, another fun thing you can do is similar to what we had before. If we click on the add-ons, maybe where I want attention, this is now a banner, right? Where are people going to actually lead themselves to look? To get there, you go on the add-ons in Adobe Express. It's called Attention Insight. It takes a little while, but where are people going to click or look, right? Exactly where I want them. They're going to look in the center. I can add this as a layer. So this is what I love about Attention Insight. It uses AI based on images they have and based on when people looked at. You can look a little bit more, but they're looking at my name, helping you understand YouTube. They're looking at the QR code. Content Weekly, they're not looking at as much. Fair enough. They're actually looking at the creator community. So this is a pretty good idea of where they're looking. Now, again, this layer that is the red, maybe I like a green better. Maybe I think green looks better. Green for growth. I could try it with this black, keeping a lot of the original color. I could try it with the yellow, the red, the blue. That's something you could try as well. That feature is neat, says Chatty Cathy. It is, especially considering if you're like, I think I know where people are going to look. It's a nice double check. So that's one of the add-ons. There are a lot of add-ons, by the way. You can get collages, you can generate noise, you can make charts, there's icons, color blindness. How does this fare for colorblind people? Well, you can see what it'll look like. Again, there's a lot of inclusive add-ons that help you help other people. Now, I do wish on their previewer, this is where the add-ons, I do like it. If you're bad at gradients, I know I struggle with them. There's a gradient designer you have here. So if I know your colors, if you want red and maybe on this one you want a Christmas theme and you want it green, it'll make a gradient for you in different ways. Again, there's so many free tools here that help make this all easy. I have a question for you if you're watching. What color do you think works best? I think I actually kind of like the black here. Keep it kind of monochromatic, but there's still some color if you look deeper. I also like red. I'm between black and red. Blue's not bad. But if I do the black, I think I would need a different color in the background here. In the shadows, perhaps. Could be something like, maybe this is where the red stands out, or maybe not. Yellow, maybe. Ooh, no. Again, we're trying out loud, right? So we're ideating together. I like that gray, the black. Black seems to be winning. So, again, I could try. What is the outline? Not working. Let me sit with it, right? What do I feel? I feel the red doesn't work. Do I like gray on gray? White on white doesn't look right here. The red, I'm not sure. I could try red or blue with less of the shadow. That's true. I could also, if we go back to the color of the overall image here, I could add more or less opacity, right? So what if I try the red with a little bit more opacity, a little less? Again, we're playing with it. Full red, I feel doesn't work, but maybe something like this. 50%, not bad. We can also try different blend modes, right? Screen, maybe not. Contrast, dark and shadow. Here's the red, but a little more contrasty. It's a choice. We'll go maybe here. For those who know, nice. Sometimes I, no joke, will do that and it ends up looking decent. I'm like, dang it. But again, the main idea, going back to this, is to, that's a big, I did accidentally add myself in a new layer. There's the drag and drop. I figured it out. Oh no. No, I replaced Chantel's beautiful image. All right, well, that's what you get, right? Oh, is it the background? No, it's not. What? This is the background. Oh, screen mode, normal. There we are. So I was saying, the crop is wrong. You can actually crop Undo, undo. It's true. It's very true. But don't worry. What we can do, Control Z. I could have done that. I could have done that. Or if you don't know, we got this, and this is linked in the description. We're just copying this image. I'm hitting paste. Wrong layer. And then I just bring it here. Scroll to fit because the canvas size is right. If you're ever like, is my canvas right? You can resize, check here. The good thing is Chantel tells us what the size is, 2560 by 1440. 2560 by 1440 for this, because this is what YouTube has it as. And then we duplicate and resize. And then you can triple check. Now we know our size here. Was I in the wrong image size? I could have been. I think I was. Always important to check. But now that we're here, we have the screen. And maybe for the folks on desktop, you get half of me. You get a little bit of me in the corner. Nobody puts Andrew in the corner but Andrew, apparently. Now, here's the thing. On mobile, this image may not hit the same way, and that's hard too, right? Because of some of the newer design elements, it's hard. I could put myself, I think, here. This doesn't look terrible. I actually probably, if I did do this, would... you know what? You get more shoulder if you... if you watch here, you get more shoulder. That's gonna be for you and I. If you've watched this far in. Now, one thing I do, which I've done a few times, because I don't actually... Oops. Too far in. Click out of that. I don't actually have a full shoulder here. I want to put this above here so we can see it. And what I'll do, duplicate. Okay. We're going to fake it. Here's how we fake it. We faked it. Now you can definitely tell if you look close enough. But I'm just going to say we've grouped. And there we go. Another thing I can do, should help, is put it behind. And after a while, you stop realizing that it wasn't... Did he ever have a shoulder? Who knows? But you do, because you watch this. You know the truth. Hashtag shouldergate. Shoulder was never there. But yeah, like that's some of those simple designs you can do. And if you if you look away, look at it again, you wouldn't know. Sometimes the photo editing doesn't have to be the most in-depth thing. It can be simple edits like that. Now, I will go ahead and duplicate the group because I do want to do what we've been doing. And we're going to ungroup. We're going to go to effects. We're going to go to custom. Now, if I wanted, right, like if I wanted to be blue, you just make both blue. We're in our group effects. I didn't move the group properly. We group again. We make it a little larger, just ever so slightly. And then you put me behind it. You go back to the group layer. You ungroup. Go to effects. And we're just having fun. Oh my God, fully symmetrical shoulders. Thanks, Chantel. But now we have a background. We have that different layer. And if we go all the way back to where we were, it's something. So now we have all this, and we have space that I like to leave, because if you go to my YouTube channel banner, you'll see it. I like to leave a little bit of space because there's some add-ons that you can add that'll track like your subscriber growth. You can have your Discord. Let's go ahead and pull up the YouTube channel here. This actually updates in real time. So this green bar follows my actual subscriber count. It's one of those things you can do. I didn't see on the desktop here. I did not do that little edit. But maybe we have room here for creators helped. And maybe instead of helping you understand YouTube, as I think, maybe it's helping you on YouTube. I'm not trying to crop. Let's go to not content creation weekly. I could ask it to rewrite, rephrase, shorten it. Let's try. It'll generate. Enjoy YouTube. Embrace. Embrace isn't bad. I could rephrase. I do wish I could do a little bit of both. Maybe it's personal. But again, it uses some interesting tool. Unraveling. YouTube demystified. YouTube decoded. How do I like this? Add as a... Oh, God. Well, I guess that's cool that I can have... I kind of like YouTube decoded. But I don't know if that goes, if it's super simple to understand. But what it could be. It's almost perfect to fit. All right, Chantel, how much are we upset over this little Y? Yes, Moss guys. I have a whole video in the description about how you can set that up. It is how to set up YouTube channel banners. It is through a company called Stream Elements. I like it a lot, but it would be a little bit too in depth and not the focus of what we're trying to do here. But I use that. That's why I keep this space here, is so that I can have this interactive element. I'll make sure it is already in the description, but if you want to check out that channel banner video, how to set that up, you can use the chapters to jump to that part of that. Not upset at all, especially not right at the top. All right, I'll take it. Chantel approved. I kind of like decoded. Wow, I didn't think I'd say that. But sometimes, you know, that's where like you can use that AI, right? You rewrite. Let's go shorten. I like personal. We'll keep going. Unlock YouTube. Nah. Huh. YouTube for you? Understanding YouTube is basic. I'm trying to get the same idea. Your YouTube, YouTube decoding YouTube. Sometimes YouTube demystified. YouTube made simple. That one might be the best one yet. And then we add it back in. All right. Yo. I like YouTube made simple. I think it keeps... Oh, well. Keeps the original idea of content creation made easy. YouTube made simple. I think works better than YouTube decoded. I'll actually let you guys decide. YouTube decoded or YouTube made simple. I'm leaning on YouTube made simple. And now with all the extra space, I feel like we're using it pretty well. I could drop the exclamation mark. I could. Another cool thing that's one of the things I don't actually talk about too much, but I should, is let's say you wanted to translate this. You could. You can select languages to go to translate to. So let's say I want to translate to Indonesian, right? What I could do if I don't do that. Now, it uses AI. Please review results for accuracy. Translate. It'll translate the text on page. So now we have a version of this in Indonesian. We have all of them in Indonesian, actually. How cool is that? Using AI to be a little more inclusive, which is something I try to do. Geology Dude, absolutely. I'll have timestamps in the description. Right now, we're between YouTube Made Simple and YouTube Decoded for this little segment here. Let's go ahead. I want to bring this all the way to the top just so that I can edit it a little bit easier. There's also another way I could have done that. I could have just right-clicked and said send to back, send to front, so it'll bring it through the layers. Why I didn't, I don't know. You just get used to what you know. All right, YouTube Made Simple. So do we want it with? Hold on. There we go. With or without? That's the real question now. So without, with, without. Kind of like it without right now. Let's make sure that's centered. It is. I do like the alignment tools because I'm bad at that. You can add margins if you want. So I guess what I could also do it on these margins, if I wanted to, helps me keep idea of what's focused. I like both. All right. Well, I think I'll put YouTube Made Simple. And maybe we add it a little closer. Oh, not too close. A little closer to that. Here's middle. And what I usually do is I'll start there. And then I use my arrow keys. And again, if you're using, you can do this on your phone. If you're doing that, you can do it in other ways. Let's click on that. Let's click out of this real quick just to go back here. You can click the arrow keys, move it up. There we go. I think that looks a little better. Then we have this on screen. This is to help make sure we're matching all of YouTube's requirements. I think this is it. I think this is a new banner. I think we've done this together, folks. Have fun. And again, we've done banners. We've done a lot today. And when I'm ready, what I'll do is I will lock this. I'm going to make this 0% opacity. I'm going to lock this so I have it in the future. But it looks simple, but we know it fits all the stuff. And we have our QR code. Scooching up will give you add on a bit more space too. It will. And I can still have this, which again, if you are unaware, this is something that I've talked about in another video. I'll have that video on screen, the link. It's also in the description, but this updates in real time. So I can pick new colors. I can also have this on our Discord numbers if like we're trying to grow the Discord. We also have, a lot of other things you can do. So I just wanted to say, we've done a lot. And if you're wondering, like, what else can I do with this? We've talked about thumbnails. We have image polls. So you could make the images here. You can, and I will tell you, I've definitely have made some of them. There's so much on YouTube that needs graphics, that needs thumbnails. And Adobe Express truly is, for me, that tool that I use for all of it. Now I'm going to title this AK 2025 YouTube banner, and then I'll put YouTube made simple. So once you're ready, there's a couple things. If I want, I could resize. I could actually apply the brand template like I showed earlier if I wanted to go to the colors, try something different, apply brand, see how I like it. It's going to give me different options. There might be one I like. So far, no. If you want to do that, like I said, what I'd recommend, actually, I don't hate this option, although maybe it's again, I was clicking through pretty quickly. Here's where we started, I think. Yes, it is. So if I wanted to do this, right, play around with it, this is where I just click on the duplication. We go back to pages. You know, we like this one. We duplicate page, which is something you can easily do. Go to brands, and we play around with apply brand. See what happens. Maybe there's a color we really like that we didn't think of ourselves. But because we told it what colors to use, it might give us something. Again, there's 100+ options with these different color combinations. I might not be using one I thought of, and maybe find something that we like. Maybe we change the content creation made easy, but that's not terrible. Huh. And again, you'll find yourself impressed. At least I do. So, again, I'm not a fan of the shadow color, but maybe we put it back to this, and all of a sudden, this one isn't so bad. Huh? Was it? That's not right. It wasn't supposed to do it on both. Uh-oh. Well, there you go, huh? That's a bug, if I've ever seen one. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to add it to all of them. But it was. Well, that's something I'm going to report. I think YouTube made easy might, to your point, Chantel, work a little bit better. We can try YouTube made simple or YouTube made easy. Let's go. Oh, well, we've moved it, but I was able to. Let's go bring that to front. Let's click on it. Bring to front. YouTube made easy. If we are going to have YouTube made easy, I would like to add in an exclamation mark. Kind of keep some of that heritage, what I had there. Unlock that image. I kind of like YouTube made easy. I think simple is better than easy, or easy is better than simple. So I actually am going to keep that. And now, once I add in that stuff I have on my banner now, I'm going to change the color so it fits a little bit better. I think that's going to work. There we go. And again, all of this, if you want to give it a shot, if you're like, I've liked what I've seen today, I want to give Adobe Express a shot, there is a link in the description. They do Black Friday deals. If you're watching this in the future, it's always worth checking out Adobe for that. There's a lot of cool things you can do in Adobe Express, and believe it or not, we've only scratched the surface. I have a lot of content that you can check out about Adobe Express. If you need to make an Instagram story, you need to make a presentation, you need to make a flyer, they have so much that you can do. They have templates. They have a lot here. And if you click view all, there's so much on their quick actions. You can remove backgrounds. You can make videos to GIFs. You can resize images. You can edit PDF, make collages. Their logo maker, if you're just getting started, let's say the Can-Do creator community needed a new logo. You can do it, right? Like, look at this. Look how fast it is. I can hit other. Next. Style. I kind of like the Wolves Empire. We're going quickly. Choose a logo to customize. I like that one we picked. I also kind of like this one. So, Can-Do creator community. Again, if you're getting started, there's a lot here. There's a lot it can do. One of my favorites that I don't talk about enough is if you're trying to make a faceless YouTube channel, you can upload audio and it will animate it for you. I love all the different things that you can do. And with that, you should get going and use that link in the description. If you want to learn more, check out our membership. We have a group coaching membership where we help creators just like you on a little bit more in-depth basis. Highly recommended if you're considering getting even more help than I can offer in live streams and all the free content. All our free stuff remains free, but you get a little more access. I'm Andrew Can. Thank you so much, Adobe Express, for sponsoring. Thank you for watching. And as always, I hope you have a great day. Thanks.